The year is 1993 in the fictional country of Hadia. Isolated from the outside world by its leaders, the country has been torn and ravaged by civil war. It's a power struggle, fueled by polarization and hate between the two ethnic groups within Hadia, Sabinians and Palamists. The setting bears similarities to real life's both ongoing and historic events in an eerily foreboding way. That's just one of the reasons Hell Is Us just might be one of the most relevant and important games to come out this year.
This war is a sword sharpened by propaganda and religious intolerance, slicing and dicing up what generations built over centuries within days.
You step into the shoes of Remy Ledham, an ex-soldier returning to his home country of Hadia after having been smuggled out when he was 5 years old, his mother leaving him with the final words, "Never come back." In search of his parents, you quickly learn that Hadia, in the midst of the war, has been overrun by strange, supernatural, and seemingly mindless creatures. These pale, void-like entities are immune to any regular matters of offense and will savagely tear apart anyone who comes near. The only way to neutralize them is by cutting them down with a specially crafted type of middle-aged weaponry called limbic weapons that you come across as you explore the centuries-old ruins of the forests of Hadia. All you have to work with is that your father was a blacksmith in the village of Yova. Other than that, no one ever tells you where to go or what to do.
Do you know where I might find the blacksmith?
Even before all this started, he was off and gone. A dark burden weighed on him.
It's your job to explore, talk to people, gather information, and apply it to solve the mystery of what happened to your parents and what's going on in Hadia. The game opens with an interrogation scene that instantly pulls you into the narrative, planting seeds of curiosity as well as providing multiple threads to unravel.
It's the true serum. It's still experimental, hence the polygraph.
Who is the mysterious hat-wearing, almost alien-looking guy interrogating you? What did you do to end up in that chair?
How did you get into Hadia?
The man asks at one point during the interrogation, further intriguing me by way of presentation.
Well, apparently, needs more time.
The voice acting, animations, and breadcrumb writing instills an immense curiosity in me.
Why did you do it?
Remy explains that he was searching for his parents. He says he didn't know if they were there. All he knew was a hint about his father and his occupation as a blacksmith. When we first assume control over our protagonists, we find ourselves in Sanidra Forest after having snuck into Hadia dressed as an ON peacekeeper. It gives an eerie and almost supernatural feeling, further solidified by the atmospheric soundscape lingering in the background. Stone surfaces with strange symbols can be found along the paths throughout the forest, and at the end of this particular path, 3 graves appear just before you reach a dilapidated farmhouse with dead animals and worn equipment. Sheltered in the cellar, an old man mourns the loss of his 3 sons to the Sabinian savages, hoping his 4th son is still alive out there somewhere.
They left my sons' bodies in the forest. My only solace is knowing that my 4th son might still be alive. I hope he finds his way home, if he's out there somewhere.
Much of the story is told through a combination of written notes, books, artifacts, dialogue, and environmental storytelling, where the meticulously crafted and highly detailed locations, both inside and outside buildings, tell a story in and of themselves. My first meeting with Ernest Cadell, the man in the forest, was enough for me to want to exhaust every conversation with every character I meet.
This is our actual state. Our true nature, all of us. We are made of pure, unhinged barbarity.
The voice acting and writing is that good. As you move deeper into the forest, you'll quickly find yourself with a mysterious sword in hand, dressed in a black poncho, accompanied by an autonomous drone, both known from the game's promotional content, if you're familiar with that. Upon arrival in the semi-open area of Akasa Marshes, you stumble upon a gut-wrenching sight of a massive excavator with its floodlight on and hydraulic arm looming above an insect-ridden mass grave filled with the bodies of civilians, entire families, women, and children included. To further violate your humanity, on the edge of the pit, a grieving father sits next to his deceased daughter, clutching onto the body of his lifeless wife, crying out in despair.
Why? Why? Why is this happening?
You're left with a sinking, hollow feeling, forced to reflect on the atrocities of war and the horrors of mankind. As you continue searching for your parents, stomach-churning scenes like that are unfortunately not a rare sight in the war-torn country of Hadia. Closing in on the small town of Yova, you realize how bad things are. The land is riddled with otherworldly humanoid creatures, pale in color, with an abyss where their faces and stomachs should have been. A few of them have strange kaleidoscopic bright-colored entities emerging from their center mass that extend through a black umbilical thread flanked from different angles. Arriving in Yova was a mixed basket of emotions for me, and I mean that in a positive way. On the one hand, I'm thoroughly impressed by the detailed environment and how unafraid the developer is to show the worst atrocities imaginable. On the other hand, you're faced with unspeakable scenes and results of the hate and violations that both fuel and follow war. The voice acting and the storytelling has me nodding in appreciation.
This shit will never end. I need to get the fuck out of here. I had no choice, man. Voss and his goons look at magazines to see if we fired. Whatever you're doing in Jova, make it short.
There's something about this 1990s Eastern European aesthetic mixed with everything else. Armed militia carrying Cold War-era assault rifles, old military trucks, and radio equipment, contrasted with centuries-old ruins, your sword, and supernatural entities, sprinkled with a few high-tech items here and there, like your data tablet and your drone. Somehow, it's all believable and grounded in the lore and context of this universe. Hell Is Us is not afraid to dive deep into the subject matter, and it's unquestionably one of the strong points of the game. The contrasts and blend are risky, and in the wrong hands could have come across as over the top and weird, but the fact that you never question neither the visuals nor the narrative should be evidence enough that Rogue Factor has succeeded in creating something believable and immersive. I want to get this off the bat right away. Hell Is Us is not an open world RPG, and it's not a Souls-like. Personally, I've grown to despise the term Souls-like because I think the label has become a disservice to both itself as well as the games that unwillingly has the term casually thrown at them. It'll scare away players who might otherwise be interested in a particular game, or it might disappoint players who thought they somewhat knew what they were getting. The Souls-like label successfully alienating two groups of gamers in one fell swoop. First and foremost, Hell Is Us is a narrative-driven action and adventure game with deep lore and a story and universe that pulls you in, making you beg for more while it keeps you searching for answers.
Why did you come back?
Like you, I had 1,000 questions.
The movement and combat feels tight and responsive. Traversal throughout the world is deliberately limited in a way that some may call cheap due to the lack of an ability to jump, vault, or climb freely. In my opinion, this shouldn't necessarily be something to criticize or focus on in a game like this. The level design feels deliberate, of high quality, and it promotes exploration and puzzle solving, which is a massively more important and intended part of the gameplay than verticality-related movement mechanics. Combat feels fun and engaging. Your only weapon is your sword, which has a normal swing and a heavy swing that can be charged twice for increased damage. Your sword can be upgraded or swapped out with axes, pole arm, or a great sword. You can sprint and dodge roll at any time, but you need to watch your stamina. Your drone can assist you in combat, and it can be upgraded with modules that give it certain abilities, like acting as a distraction or helping you perform heavier hitting swings on enemies. Your weapon will gain experience as opposed to you, and as you progress, you can upgrade your weapon, increasing your damage output along with learning how to attach glyphs to learn special abilities. The enemies are not particularly varied in this game, though some of them will pose a challenge in certain situations. I think this is okay, because there are lore-related reasons for that. The limited enemy variety is so obviously intentional, specifically because of the narrative and setting. I love the way combat feels, and the perfectly adequate variety it presents in both weapon upgradability, character customization, and other RPG elements. The way puzzles and investigations work in Hell Is Us is incredibly intriguing, and many players will probably reminisce about the PS1 and PS2 era games that pioneered this type of level design and puzzle solving. I think Hell Is Us manages to superbly appeal to the type of player who enjoys exploration and chasing down clues.
My name is Talus. I used to be a lawyer before the war. Look at what these palamists, these animals, did to me for wanting to vote for Sabinian freedom.
At the same time, it manages to flavor it with the investigation angle and a very satisfying and not too challenging combat experience. In a lot of adventure games and RPGs, you'll have a map, a quest log, and specific goals or objectives. In Hell Is Us, you have no map, no quest log, and only the overarching goal of trying to find your parents. The level design is great, not too confusing without a map, but elaborate enough that it feels very rewarding when you stumble upon a partially hidden path or finally map out an area in your head by exploring and you come to realize something you hadn't before. Your datapad is the only help you have in sorting through all the accumulated information for clues on where to go next or how to solve a puzzle. An investigation is presented as a thinking map laid out on your datapad with branching nodes to NPCs, items, or discoveries. Each node gets updated with small comments every time you learn a new piece of information. In separate tabs, every item you pick up is listed and accessible for rereadability and study. Your goal is to collate the information you have and through elimination and deduction, find a solution to a mystery or where to go next. Putting it in writing does not do justice to how good it feels to work through an investigation in Hell Is Us. Personally, I can oftentimes find puzzles frustrating and unnecessary in many games, but the way investigations are designed and presented in Hell Is Us makes me stubborn and goal-oriented in a surprisingly positive way. Although I did struggle a bit with a few of the ones that are not necessary for progressing the main story. The aspect of no hand-holding can feel arbitrary when a developer insists upon it without the proper structure around it. Hell Is Us balances the puzzles and investigations in a way that makes it feel like the solution is always within reach, succeeding in keeping the player constantly engaged. When you launch the game, and as you enter the main menu, you're greeted with a moonlit, living, topographic map of the country of Hadia as the backdrop. The visuals are accompanied by a somber and almost hypnotizing melody, and you're instilled with a sense of awe and mystery, as if something invisible to you demands your respect and attention. An unnerving sense of dread continues as you enter the game world and assume control over the protagonist, and it never lets up. The audio backdrop is varied and ever-present, with almost 4 hours and close to 70 different songs. The soundtrack never feels annoying or invasive. It feels necessary and always welcome, changing up throughout the zones, areas, and situations, as well as when you enter combat, calming down when the action is over. The visual storytelling is, as mentioned, beautifully horrific and detailed. I would not recommend this game for the impatient person who wants to beeline from start to finish. I've spent a lot of time backtracking, looking for pieces to a puzzle, finding myself noticing new things multiple times over. This is by design. Sometimes you get a key to a room by doing good deeds for a few different people, traveling through several areas before finally returning to the locked door in question. Every building, every backyard, and every character tells a story. Some of them are so horrific and unspeakable that I won't mention them here, seeing as it will be more impactful when experienced on your own. These visuals, albeit subtle and not explicitly acted out in front of you, other than the visual aftermath or verbal recanting of events, are gruesome but necessary for the narrative.
It will take some time for us to recover, but we should be okay. I worry the younger girls will never be the same.
I'd like to reiterate, this is one of the strongest aspects of the game and why it's one of the best, most relevant games to come out this year.
Thank you. I don't know how I'm supposed to carry on after this. All of us deserve something better.
Hell Is Us repeatedly shows that it's not afraid to talk about the hate and evil that lies within mankind and the suffering that follows. The title of the game itself should be telling of what to expect.
This poor boy. His entire family died in an instant. Artillery shell. And I was lucky enough to find him when I did.
The graphics quality is beautiful and the attention to detail is quite frankly amazing. Hell Is Us might have some of the best lighting that I've ever seen in a game. It's so good, I'm afraid it might be underappreciated how much of an impact it has on the way you perceive the environment and how much of a difference it makes in setting the mood. I found myself turning off the flashlight on my drone to fully take in the visuals in a lot of areas. Every area that needs to be feels meticulously handcrafted, invoking a sense of curiosity in the player. For instance, I love how the camera is framed during conversations. When talking to different characters, I find myself contemplating the objects and layout of the surrounding area. I will always hesitate to skip dialogue in games, but this game in particular wants me to be sure that I can squeeze every word out of every single character in search of clues, narrative pieces, and world-building anecdotes.
Everyone I know is gone. They're with Zethras now, in the higher place. Uncle Chafford talks about it in his sermons. It's where we go when we die. It's a place that has no memories. You only feel happiness. It's where my mom and dad, baby brother are.
Although the areas you travel in between are semi-open, they're laid out and presented in a way that makes you feel like the whole country of Hadia is available to explore. You can see mountains, forests, streets, and buildings in the distance everywhere. I very much appreciate the way the bordering environment subtly blends into the accessible areas of the game world. You feel like you're part of the world, but it's not necessary to go everywhere. You are here for a reason, and the investigation needs to continue. Hence, you never feel claustrophobic, and so you stick to where you need to be. I knew I was interested in Hell Is Us from the gameplay reveal last year, but I still had some reservations before I made the purchase on release day. I decided to go in mostly blind, as I usually do when I have a gut feeling about a game. Little did I know how mind-blowingly good this game was going to be. I knew the mood was right up my alley at the main menu. My jaw had already dropped at the first half of the intro cutscene, and I was completely taken when I heard the voice acting from the first NPC that I met in the game. From then on, the game kept me amazed at every single revelation, through the investigation mechanics, to the environment, the visuals, the brutality, and developing stories. I believe Hell Is Us is one of the best games to come out this year, and I highly recommend you play it. Hopefully, people who play this game can learn some new perspectives on the similarities to our own history, the world, humanity, and the benefits of doing good deeds, in contrast to the awful things we witness around us. Thousands of years of lore has been staked out for the world of Hadia. Religion and ethnic groups, secret societies, calamities, massive ancient structures, and unexplained anomalies. Everything is there, wrapped in the horrifyingly beautiful and intriguing world that is Hadia. Hell Is Us is an amazing game with a fleshed out story and deep world that demands to be heard. A piece of art like this deserves to leave a lasting impact.